so much as a kid. Like training my whole life for this. All right, now that these through hulls are installed, we can plumb them up. We've got the head discharge in here, shower, sink discharge in here, the washer discharge in here. We've got a bilge pump to plumb in. And then once all that's done, I can put the hot water tank in behind me and plumb that in. So I'm gonna spend the rest of the day sitting in this tiny little hole. All right, how are we gonna do this? I guess we start with the biggest one. We've got the through holes installed. Got the one behind me installed. And now in the space where I am is gonna go the hot water tank. So I'm gonna monkey that in here and then get these stainless steel straps around it again. I already test fit, we know it works, but hopefully this is the last time it goes in because everything underneath it is now all installed. So hot water tank can go in and then I can finish plumbing the front of it. And then a few more things to install, but eventually we're going to be able to do a pressure test on our freshwater system.
Alright guys, so Walden is busy installing the hot water heater. I'm also going to be installing something, but much smaller. So small, in fact, that it's not even physical. So we're traveling in a few days, and one thing that I make sure I pack with me is our eSIM. And the one that we're currently using is called Saily, who is the sponsor of this week's video. So an eSIM is a digital SIM card that lets you be connected to the internet without having to physically swap SIM cards. And Saily is an eSIM app that lets you stay connected in over 200 countries. Once you download the app, you follow the instructions to help you install your first eSIM, and then from there you choose your data plan based on the country that you're traveling to, and then voila, your eSIM will be automatically activated as soon as you land or you arrive in that country, which is great because it means that you don't have to reinstall a new eSIM every single time you travel. You just download the app once, you just download the eSIM once, and then you just update the data plan when you're ready to travel. So you can go and check out saily.com/sailinguma or use the code sailinguma at checkout to save 15% off your next Saily data plan. On that note, let's get back to Dan with installing a physical item, which is the hot water heater.
Things we do. Ta-da. All right, hot water tank is installed. I've already run the hot water line from here over around through to the head. We opted for this braided line instead of PEX because we're actually going to be running the hot water tank pretty hot and then running it through a thermostat in the head so it's controllable. But it means that this line needs to be rated for, 150 degrees, I think, which PEX starts to soften and degrade at 90. So the cold going in is going to be PEX, and then the hot going out is going to be stainless braided cable that's rated for an outrageous amount of heat, and it's well insulated. So these fittings already have like rubber ends on them, so I'll be able to just attach that here. And then on the PEX side, we've got a one-way check valve. It's going to go in here, and then a isolation shutoff valve. And that's going to run down here to where the cold water goes into the hot water tank, and then we'll be done. Also, I already replaced our 500 watt element with a 1200 watt element, so it's going to heat up way faster than it did before. Realizing this is probably a good time to also reiterate that we're not going with an instant hot water heater in our boat. I know a lot of you guys, last time we showed temporarily installing this, were asking if we were going to go instant hot water or why we weren't going instant hot water. And the reality is, although in a house where you have a lot of power coming in on your mains, instant hot water can save on your electricity bill because you're only heating up the water you use. You're not heating up water that's just sitting here. However, on a boat, we don't have that amount of power to run an instant hot water heater. To have like a decent instant hot water heater, they start at around 5 kilowatt elements, and most of them are in like the 10 to 15 kilowatt elements. This is 1.2 kilowatts, so we can run it off of our inverter. In order to run an instant hot water heater, we would need to have a whole nother inverter running just for the hot water heater. So we would probably lose some efficiencies there as well. And the reality is this will heat up this 25 liters of water. We'll heat this up in like 15 minutes and we can shower and then we shut it back off again. So it's not on all the time, basically acts like an instant hot water heater, and we're not leaving it on 24/7 just so we have a little bit of hot water to like wash our hands or something. We only turn this on once, maybe twice a day, and when it's done, it's done. So that's why we're keeping the old school just heating element on our boat. It's actually more efficient to run that than it is to run an instant hot water heater. Let's get started. I need to go get some more parts. If I can get back out of here. Okay. Where was I? Okay. Hot's in, cold's in, shut off, check valve, overflow. Sweet. Everything's pretty much plumbed in here. Right underneath where I'm sitting is gonna go our depth sounder transducer, but I'll have to get into that later because it's still on back order. But there's still enough space to install it because we'll be drilling it from the outside. So yeah, this worked out really well. I like it. Time to get out of here. All right, last thing I need to install before we can pressure test our freshwater system is going to be the saltwater intake and the freshwater, well, saltwater out for the deck wash and freshwater in and out. So we can fill up our tanks and use our freshwater hose to rinse off the deck if we want to. Along with that, we're going to be installing our cockpit shower, which is this big chunk of stainless. And those are all going down in here behind me, so that they're protected from rain and they're kind of in and out of the way where they're still easy to access, but we don't need to worry about, you know, this is still a relatively large hole. Hello. In the side of our boat. So we don't really want this to be exposed out in the cockpit. It doesn't latch closed, but with gravity, it'll stay closed. And yeah, so we got a couple more holes to cut and then a bit of plumbing to do. This is gonna go like. Tricky part about any install like this is that there's really no like right angles on a boat to line things up to. So we're lining up a weird ellipse with another weird ellipse. Somewhere there I think is gonna be good though. Underneath is nothing that I need to worry about. All right, let's get cutting. Sweet. That's solid glass. I was really expecting there to be some plywood in there. Huh. That's cool. Makes my life easy. Alright. There's no way this fits on the first try. Oh! Look at that! Like a glove. Oh, that's perfect. Not gone. I thought it was gone to the depths of Mordor. Oh, almost gone to the depths of Mordor. Oh, 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 oh. Sweet. I like it. Okay. That one's gonna go live there somewhere. All right, well, the last thing I need to build for the freshwater system is the intake side. We're gonna be using the same cockpit hookup for freshwater out to hose off our anchor chain or to hose off the deck, but we're gonna be able to flip a valve and then run it through a filter and a check valve and a pressure reduction valve. So when we're using it to fill the boat with water, we have a way to bypass all of this. So we can treat the water coming in and make sure we don't blow out any systems. And then we can flip it back and then use it to hose the boat off like normal. So a little bit of redundancy, but that way we don't have to worry about water going the wrong way. And we don't have to worry too much about if the water coming off the dock is a little bit gross because it's going to be pre-filtered. However, the drinking water on the boat is also going to be filtered again. So this is just to keep like debris and sediment and stuff out of our water tanks. Cool. Done. I just spent the last hour reconfiguring this again. And because I had it all built out and then I tried to install it and it just didn't quite fit where I wanted it to. So I had to swap where it was going to be installed. So now the tour is this up here goes out to the cockpit fill. So that's where the water's going to come in and go out to the hose. So, and then it goes in to the valve here. So in this position, it goes straight out to the boat. So basically, if the handle's down, the pressure pump from the boat is going to be pushing this way, and it's going to be feeding the hose fitting on deck so we can use the hose to freshwater rinse the boat. So if we flip the handle this way, then it's going to divert water this way. So then we plug the hose in from the dock, it comes into the deck fill, and then in through here. Then it goes through the filter, then it goes through the pressure regulator, and then it goes through a check valve, and then it goes through this solenoid valve. Now, we are going to be wiring this solenoid valve to a float switch in the tank or in the feed line to the tank. And this float switch is normally open. So without power applied, this is open. So what's going to happen is that float switch is going to complete a circuit, and it's going to close this and stop the water from flowing into our boat so we can't overflow our tanks accidentally. It'll probably set off like a small buzzer as well to notify us that it's full. And then we'll come in here, shut this off, flip the system around, and then reset this so that it's open again. So that's the system. It's pretty compact, and I like it a lot. Check valve, somewhat not necessarily needed. However, there is a scenario where if the handle's up this way and the pressure pump on board is on, it could theoretically send water back through here and back through this pressure release valve and flow backwards through the water filter and out the hose on deck if we accidentally get the valve placements wrong. So this is kind of just to idiot-proof the system and to make sure that we can't run water backwards through the pressure relief valve and backwards through this filter, which could kind of mess things up. So I'm going to go install it in the cockpit locker, and then we'll be able to hook a hose up and pressurize the whole thing and find out if anything leaks. Hopefully it doesn't. That's in. Sweet. This is all installed now. Water's going to come in from the deck fill here and come around into the top and divert through the fill and then into our tanks. And then once the tanks are full, pressure from the onboard water pump can push it back out so we can use that fresh water to hose down like the anchor chain. So the only thing left to do is to hook up the hose and pressure test this thing and hopefully not find any leaks. But I feel like we've done a lot this week, and I feel like Kika's probably going to end this video right about here.